Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming to you guys with a little bit of a different video. Today I'm going to be doing a tier list video ranking some of the best lead characters from TV dramas of the golden age of TV. Alright, so this is the first tier list video I've done on the channel, so bear with me a little bit in terms of like the tech stuff with getting the screen on there as well in the video. But yeah, hopefully we got it all figured out and hopefully it'll be good. So yeah, really looking forward to this one. I've seen a lot of people do tier lists, and I've done a few in the past, not too many though. So this is something I'm kind of new to, just the making the videos, but also just tier lists in general. But it looks really fun, and so I thought I'd take a stab at this one. My most recent video was looking at the golden age of television, and really liked putting that video together. If you want to check that one out, really would appreciate it. And so with that one, I kind of, got me thinking more about the golden age of TV, some of the best TV shows, and something that I, kind of looked into was, what are some of the biggest lead characters from these shows, right, of the golden age of TV, and even maybe beyond, right? Some people have a different definition of what the golden age is. I talk about that in that video, of course. And so, yeah, we can argue over what the actual time period is, but just in general, the last probably, 2 decades, probably since the early 2000s, right? And basically until current day, some of the biggest shows and some of the biggest lead characters from those shows. And so I actually looked into it, and there was no tier list for this, or at least that I could find. Maybe there is out there, but so I ended up creating my own tier list. So we have 50, originally we had 50 characters, but I forgot to. So we have 52 characters that we're going to rank and put into this tier list here of the best lead characters. There are some notable shows that are missing here. Lost, The Wire, Stranger Things, right? Some of these shows that are huge shows, yes, but they don't necessarily have a clear lead, or in some cases, some of these shows have 2 leads. So yeah, some of those shows will be missing. I only picked shows and characters that are the defined lead in the show, top of the call sheet. We have a single recognizable name or face that's attached to that character that leads that show. So, and some of them are a little bit of a gray area, right? Like some of them maybe should have 2 leads, or maybe there's a lot of exceptions, right? Of course. So anyways, bear with me. I tried to put together 50 of the best ones that I could think of. But anyways, I made this tier list. So if you want to do this as well, I'll definitely put the link in the description. And hopefully we can get some people, putting together some of these tier lists. That'd be really, really cool. So anyways, if you enjoy this one, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel as well. Would really appreciate it. But without any further ado, let's switch now to the tier list. All right, so here's the tier list that I created for the video here. And again, if you want to try this out, I'll put the link in the description as well. So yeah, so let's start off with, so here it is. Here's all the characters that we have here. Like I said, 50, but technically 52, so I've added these. So if you do try this out for yourself, I don't think it let me, it actually let me add the last 2 characters. But yeah, they're, Carrie Russell and Matthew Rhys from The Americans, their characters there. So I've went ahead and added them. So 52 in total here. So, okay, so let's go over the tiers. But first, I just want to mention that, of course, I have not seen every one of these shows here on this list. I think I've actually seen like 2/3 of these shows, or maybe more than that. I think about 2/3 when I went through and counted. And so, obviously, I haven't seen all of the shows, and so there's going to be some bias there. But the whole objective of this video here, of this ranking, is I'm trying to do it objectively. So I'm looking at it as not, oh, was this my favorite character in the show? It's more of like what impact they had on TV, in, pop culture. Are they a recognizable face to a lot of people? If someone hasn't seen the show, would they still recognize that character? So it's stuff like that, and you'll obviously see that in the tiers. It's kind of reflected that way. And so obviously, if you want to do this, you could just do it as a favorite characters and only rank the ones you've seen or something like that. But I just thought I'd try kind of the objective approach to it, and then see, how we kind of view these characters, just generally. And like I said, there might be some bias that creeps in for the shows that I have seen. Of course, it's kind of impossible to avoid that. But that's what it is. So, okay, so let's get into the tiers. And like I said, I think this reflects the approach that I want to take to this. So the first tier is, or like the S tier, I think people usually refer to it as, is iconic. So I think this, goes without saying, right? It's icons of the golden age of TV. Once we get into it, you'll see, especially the first one I put on there, I think it'll be pretty clear of what I think is iconic, right? It's just, the faces that everyone recognizes that really define the golden age of TV. Memorable is, I think characters that a lot of people would recognize. They have really kind of unique things about them in the shows that really make them stand out. And so, yeah, they're not necessarily iconic at that level. They're maybe just kind of the level below that, but they definitely stand out, right, to even some people who haven't seen the show, I would say, right? And then the other tier here is impactful. And I wasn't sure exactly where to put this. I think the middle is a fine tier, but these are for characters that actually, that had a real impact on the golden age of TV, and I guess, just TV in general. And so some of the names in iconic and memorable will also be impactful. So this tier is just kind of for the ones that maybe don't necessarily make it up to that memorable tier, but really had a good impact on TV, right? Had a big impact in that way. Serviceable, I think this is where a lot of the characters will fall, to be quite honest. This is basically just, were they good for the show that they were in? Did they do their job? Were they compelling enough to watch the show? And usually I think a lot of the characters that are going to fit in this tier are usually in shows with a big ensemble around them, right? And so it's like, okay, were they serviceable as the lead? And then they had some nice characters that kind of supported them. So that's that tier. And then forgettable, that's pretty self-explanatory. Just characters that were in some of these big shows, were kind of big characters, but not a lot of people would remember them when they actually look back on the shows. And I'm hoping that not too many fall in that tier, but we'll have to see. So anyways, let's get into it then with this first one. Okay, so let's get into the first character here. So the first one is Juliana Margolis's character in The Good Wife. I believe her name is Alicia, the character. So this one, I don't know. I think I would be, somewhere between serviceable and impactful. This was a big character in terms of, I think she did win 2 Emmys for her performance in the show. The show was pretty big in terms of a lead actress. I think this is one of, if you want to talk about in that Emmy conversation, right, one of the best lead performances probably from an actress in a TV show. So yeah, I'm going to go impactful for this one, just because, again, I think, that performance was really lauded by critics and a lot of people. I've not seen the show, and I've not seen the performance, but having that kind of behind her, I think that's important. So we'll put her in impactful. Next up, we have Al Swearingen, I believe, is how you pronounce it, played by Ian McShane from Deadwood, of course. And this was a tough one, too. Deadwood has, Timothy Olyphant you could throw in there, too, although he's already on this list as another character. So I thought, I'll just stick to Al Swearingen, Ian McShane's character from Deadwood. I would say, probably sticks out the most as well. So I got to put him in memorable. I think this character, even for people who haven't seen Deadwood but have kind of seen some of the things around it, I think it's just such a recognizable character. Some of the monologues that he has in the show, I think, have been very popular. Again, for even people who haven't seen the show, they've been out there. And so I think, and just the look of him as well with the mustache, and obviously he's playing a real person as well from that time period, or at least, it was based off a real person. So yeah, I think we got to go memorable without swearing in there. Okay, so next then is Viola Davis's character, Annalise Keating from How to Get Away with Murder. I think I have to go impactful for this one. I'm somewhere between impactful and serviceable. Obviously, Viola Davis is, if you want to talk about actors here on this list, she's maybe among the top in terms of actors, at least when I talk about Academy Awards and that kind of conversation, she would maybe be the highest caliber, actor here. And so I think you have to put her in impactful. I think that character is just, really important for that show. Obviously, she's a very clear lead of that show, and for Viola Davis to be in TV like that and portray that character, yeah, I think you got to go impactful. I wouldn't go memorable though, because How to Get Away with Murder really kind of faded in the later seasons, I think. I actually watched the first, I believe the whole first season, or almost all of the first season of the show. And this was years and years ago. Like, this was probably around when season 2 or 3 was coming out, or maybe even like the first season was still airing. I saw it on Netflix, I believe. So, and she was great in what I watched, but I just don't know, with the show fading in the later years, that it's that memorable to me. But I think it is an impactful performance. And something I'm going to talk about with Kerry Washington coming up for Scandal is we have to acknowledge, of course, that, she's a person of color, being a black woman leading a TV show, and there's not that many here on this list. I think I have like 3 in total, and I'll get to that with Kerry Washington, because she actually came before Viola Davis did here with How to Get Away with Murder. So I think that's important to note, and I think that's a part of that impactful tier there as well. So we'll put her there. Okay, so the next one is Bobby Axelrod from Billions. This was a questionable one for me. I wasn't sure if, him and Paul Giamatti's character should be in here or not, but I don't know. I just put them in there anyways. So Bobby Axelrod, I just have to put him in serviceable, I think. It's a good character. He is kind of unique in the show. But it also just kind of goes along with the show and just kind of the tone of it, kind of keeping that kind of cool, slick kind of feel to it, at least in the earlier seasons. I only watched till, I think, season 3 of Billions, unfortunately, and then kind of fell off like seemingly a lot of other people did. And I think the show has ended now, just in the last year. But anyway, so I just think he's serviceable. He's good in that role. Damian Lewis is one of my favorite actors in TV. I mean, I really like him. Obviously, Band of Brothers, he was amazing in back then. So, yeah, he's a great actor, but I don't know. I just, I think he just is kind of limited a little bit, and I'll put him in serviceable. Okay, so next then on the list is our newest character, or at least a character from the newest show on this list by quite a bit, right? By quite a wide margin here, I think. But anyways, it's Carmy from The Bear, played by Jeremy Allen White. So this one, I really want to put him in memorable, because I feel like The Bear, I mean, it's a big show right now. Like, and to me, for my 2 cents, I think it's kind of the top of prestige television right now. When you look at the landscape with Succession being done, and I talked about this in my video, like I said off the top, about the golden age of TV, and kind of where we are right now, I'd put The Bear up there. I really would. But it's only been 2 seasons. And so for that, I'm not quite sure that I can put him in memorable yet. Again, I think he deserves to be there, but compared to some of these others on this list that were in shows that ran for, 5 to 6 or 7 seasons, it's just hard to compare. So for me right now, and I'm not sure that he's impactful that much, so unfortunately I'm going to put him in serviceable. I'm going to put him at the top of serviceable there for now. And it's unfortunate, but I just got to do it because we're only 2 seasons in. So that's it. I love the character, obviously, and I do really like the show. Next, then, is Carrie Bradshaw, played by Sarah Jessica Parker from Sex and the City. Again, this was a tough one because I know it's an ensemble show, but I do feel like she, and she was the narrator of the show, I believe. So I do feel like, she had enough there to where she could be the lead, the clear lead of that show. This one, I have to put it in memorable. The only reason it wouldn't be in iconic is just, again, the kind of ensemble nature, right, of Sex and the City, where I think a lot of people just think of kind of the group more so than just her alone as kind of the key lead of the show. But she has to be memorable. I mean, this was like huge for Sarah Jessica Parker. She's obviously still very, famous, well-known, right, as an actress. And it was, mainly from this show. And the show was massive when it came out. And obviously, and they just did the reboot too, right? They're doing the reboot, Just Like That, I believe it's called. where she returned for that. So obviously the reboot's there. They know that the audience is there for it. People still love the show and still love those characters, and she's certainly at the top of that list. So I think you have to put her in memorable. Again, only thing holding her back from iconic to me is just that kind of ensemble nature, the way people think about the show. Next is Carrie Mathison from Homeland, played by Claire Danes. And this one, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think just serviceable, I think, would be fair to put her in there. Homeland, obviously, a big show that ran for quite a few seasons. And it's kind of funny, actually, having them two together, because Damian Lewis, I believe, right, is a big character in Homeland. I've never seen the show. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, I think, I think she's a good actress, Claire Danes, and I think she, does a good job in this, but I don't know that people, I feel like people would remember Homeland and just kind of the vibe of the show and all that stuff more so than they would just remember that character alone, that kind of stands out from that show. So anyways, that's just me. Again, I haven't seen Homeland, so perhaps that's maybe part of it, and I don't really hear a lot about the show either, to be fair, these days. Whereas some of these other shows, they've even been off the air for like decades at this point, I hear a lot more about. So anyways, we'll just stick her in serviceable there. Okay, so this one's interesting. Harvey Specter from Suits, played by Gabriel Mock. So, love Suits. Obviously, Suits is probably a top 10 show for me all time. Really love the show, and I've watched through, I think, maybe two or three times now. And the only thing, though, with Harvey Specter here is, and I will say, I don't think Gabriel Mock, in this crop of actors, I don't think he would be at the top. I think at times in the series, he was good. I don't think he was great. He had some good moments for sure. But in terms of just acting, I don't think he's up there in terms of this list. And yes, it's a memorable character, but I don't know. I think ultimately I'm going to have to put him in serviceable. I know it's a big character and that, but I feel like Suits, and Mike Ross is also in here if you can see below. So I'll talk more about him and Suits when I get there. But I feel like people just think of Suits more as the show and less so about Harvey Specter and Mike Ross. But anyways, I think also, I do think Mike is a little bit above Harvey, though. So we'll have that conversation when we get there. Maybe to having him in that kind of impactful, maybe memorable tier. But again, anyways, we'll get there. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But you know what? Why not? We'll go out of order here. We'll just do Mike Ross next. Okay, I'm going to put him in serviceable, actually, now that I think about it. I'm going to put him in serviceable, but I'm going to put him over Harvey. I'd probably put him over Carmy from The Bear as well, because I think there's more to Mike Ross than there is Harvey. Harvey is now, in later seasons of the show, they definitely do kind of give Harvey a little bit more backstory and kind of give him, a little bit more there to work with and make him more of a nuanced character. But for the majority of the show, I would say Mike Ross is definitely the more nuanced character with a lot more stuff going on, just a little bit more deeper, a little bit more unique. And I think Patrick J. Adams is the better actor of the two. And I just think Mike Ross is more of a kind of a character that sticks out to you from Suits. But yeah, I don't know that I can put him in memorable. Again, I think when people think of Suits, they think of the duo, they think of the ensemble cast, they think of the sharp writing, the music. Like, there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it more so than just, the main, having Mike Ross at the top of it. So anyways, that's where I'm going to put him. I'm going to put him in serviceable for now, but definitely at the top of serviceable. Okay, so speaking of serviceable here, we have Paul Giamatti, Chuck Rhodes in Billions. So this is the other of the duo from Billions. This is a tough one too. I mean, again, it's a unique character a little bit too. Love Paul Giamatti. I think he's a great actor. I think he should have won the Academy Award this year for The Holdovers. I think he was absolutely great in that film. But I don't know. I think this character, I mean, he does well. He really does well in the role. But unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to put him here. I think I'd put him above Bobby Axelrod probably. He also isn't in a season of the show later in the show. So maybe that we can talk about too. I think Paul Giamatti just brings maybe a little bit more to that character than Damian Lewis does. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's just a serviceable. I don't think, again, people think back to Billions. I don't know that Chuck Rhodes really kind of sticks out there. So we'll put him in serviceable there. For sure, from Billions there in the serviceable tier, and then we have both the Billions guys in there, and then we have both the Suits guys in there, which is kind of funny. But anyways, okay, so we'll do that. Next, we have Clark Griffin from the 100, and this was a bit of a weird one to put the 100 in the conversation of like prestige shows from the golden age of TV. So perhaps this could be a bit of bias because I'm a huge the 100 fan. At least the earlier seasons, I think they got kind of carried away at the, especially season 7 for sure. But anyways, I think, and the thing about Clark Griffin too is you think about the 100, you really do think of the ensemble cast there, but she really sticks out as the lead of that show, especially seeing the story from her perspective from the very beginning. So I think that's important as well. I'm going to have to put her in... I think I'm going to have to go serviceable as well for Clark Griffin. I wouldn't put her in memorable. Again, I think when people think of the 100, they think of more of that Bellamy, Octavia. They think of some of the other characters there. And again, she is for sure the lead of the show. I don't think that's a question, but I think people think more about kind of that ensemble around her. And just kind of the sci-fi elements, the show, like the stuff going on in the show in there. So, yeah, and especially with the show kind of fading towards the end, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'm going to have to put her in serviceable. Again, I don't think she would be at the top of the best actors here either in terms of this list. So, yeah, we're going to have to put her in serviceable. I would put her probably above Chuck Rhodes, maybe in there somewhere, maybe Carmy above her, or maybe her above Carmy because he's only had 2 seasons now to work with, and she had 7 seasons and stuck around the whole time, was in almost every episode. So yeah, maybe we'll have to put her in serviceable there, but a great character. Okay, so next we have Daenerys from Game of Thrones, obviously. This one is tough because I don't think I would go iconic. I don't, because I think Game of Thrones would be iconic for sure if we were just doing the shows, which I might do in another video, by the way, but anyways, we'll see. But in terms of just the character, I think I'm going to have to go memorable for this one, and I think I would go probably above Sarah Jessica Parker's character from Sex and the City, so we'd go there. It's a memorable character. I mean, when you think of Game of Thrones, you think of Daenerys, the blonde hair girl, the dragon girl. So yeah, I mean that's just a huge character from, again, one of the biggest shows. I mean, if not the biggest show of the golden age of TV of the last 2 decades, in terms of like rating and popularity and all that. So yeah, I think you got to put memorable, and I think Emilia Clarke, I mean, she's a great actress as well. She brought a lot to that role. So many memorable scenes with her in it that have just went viral and are really popular. So yeah, I think you got to put her in memorable there. Again, I put her and Jon Snow in here for Game of Thrones, which I think you could definitely argue of whether they're actually leads or they're just part of an ensemble. So that's a completely fair thing. To me, I thought they were the 2 leads, so I'll put them in here. And I think you got to go memorable for sure on those ones. Okay, so the one after this next one, I know where that's going. But this one is tough for me. It's right between memorable and iconic. And this, of course, is Dexter Morgan from Dexter, played by Michael C. Hall. I want to go iconic here because I think, obviously, and we'll get to Hannibal as well coming up, and it's kind of the same conversation here. But Dexter was first. Dexter was obviously first, started in 2006. And so him playing a serial killer, though, right? A bad guy, a villain, basically, is something that I'm not sure that we really saw on TV, at least in kind of mainstream prestige television up to this point. And it was on Showtime, right? So they were kind of pushing the envelope as well. So that's where I want to go iconic in the way that, like, it was just such a huge kind of impact on TV in that way. But then at the same time, do I really think that he is on that same level of, spoilers, but Don Draper, who's coming next, as that kind of face of the golden age of TV? You know what? I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to put him in iconic. I think just, and when people think of the golden age of TV, I think Dexter is up there. It's one of, I would say, probably top 10, right, in terms of those big shows, in terms of at least like popularity, right, fans for an audience. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to have to go iconic for now. I think, you know, once we get the other characters for that iconic tier, I think he'll be towards the bottom of it. But we're going to put him on there. I think he's a really... And Michael C. is a big name as well, big actor. You know, I think he did a great job in that show. And undoubtedly the lead of Dexter, right? The face playing literally the titular character. So we'll put him in iconic. Okay. Next one... You know, there's not much debate here. I mean, Don Draper is 100% iconic. I mean, you know, even just like people dressing up as him, like channeling just kind of that tone, that vibe of that character, with the old fashioned, the drinks as well. It's just kind of like an idolizing, right? Idolizing that character, Don Draper. John Hamm, obviously, I mean, such a great actor, right? And so great in the show. Stuck around for all 7 seasons of the show as well. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think there's much debate here. It's iconic. When you think Golden Age TV, Mad Men is in, like, almost everybody's top 5, right? Of TV shows of all time. And so if he's the clear lead of that show, such a recognizable face, he's got to be in the iconic tier for sure. All right, so next is Elliot Alderson from Mr. Robot, played by Rami Malek. This one, I did think about this one a little bit, kind of, you know, but before going into this, and I think I'm going to have to put him in serviceable. The main but definitely at the top of serviceable, even with more characters added to this tier. I think he's probably going to be the top of it. I just think he's serviceable. I think Rami Malek does a really great job. I have not seen Mr. Robot, by the way. He does a great job from everything I've heard. There are some really popular clips, I would say, of Mr. Robot, of him, right, in the show. But the main reason why he's inserviceable is because when people think about Mr. Robot, I think a lot of people think about the style of the show and just kind of, right, that general kind of essence or that vibe of what Mr. Robot brings and such uniqueness, right? In terms of prestige television, I'm not sure that Mr. Robot is like any other show from these, you know, characters that they're in, right? It's very unique, and Sam Esmail obviously, you know, deserves a lot of the credit for that because it's his show, and that's what he was going for. Absolutely nailed it. So, but that's what people think about, I think, when they think about Mr. Robot, especially people who haven't seen the show like myself. So, yeah, I'm sure Rami Malek is really great in it. I've heard some really great things, and from the clips I've seen, he is a really great actor. Obviously, he won the Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody. Kind of undeserved, but anyways, it's another conversation. But no, he's still a great actor, and I think he's good at Mr. Robot. The other thing as well, though, is it's kind of a muted performance, and obviously that's intentional. It works really well for the show, but that is something that kind of maybe takes away from that popularity that he may have had otherwise. So that's just another thing in there too. Okay, so next is Captain Flint, played by Toby Stephens in Black Sails. This show does not get talked about enough. I actually just watched this a couple years ago now. Really, really liked Black Sails. The first season, it was kind of okay to me, and then season 2 and on is really, really impressive. So Captain Flint, unfortunately, because Black Sails is just not that big of a show, I'm not sure that I can go any further than serviceable, unfortunately. I don't see that impact they necessarily had, and I just don't know that it's that memorable tier, just because Black Sails is not that big. You know, and there's other characters even in Black Sails that aren't leads. I mean, Blackbeard from Black Sails, I think is, you know, right up there. Right, maybe I would put him in memorable. So there's more kind of memorable characters, I would say, from Black Sails. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to put him in serviceable. I think, again, Toby Stevens does a good job. There's not a whole lot of range asked from him throughout the series. It is a lot of that kind of adventure, pirate-centric kind of stuff in the show too, so that can maybe takes away from his performance. But yeah, I'm going to have to put him in serviceable, unfortunately. But he is kind of a big presence. He's the captain of the crew, right, of the pirates in the show. So I'm not sure if I want to put him above Mike Ross. That's tough. Let's put him below Mike Ross, just because I think Suits is such a bigger show. Clark Griffin maybe even above him too, just because she's, very impactful with that cast. Again, I think Carmy from the Bear, only 2 seasons. Maybe I'd put, Captain Flint over him just for that reason, just for the 2 seasons. So yeah, I'll go there. I'll go there with Captain Flint for now. Really love the character, by the way. I think he's great in the show, but we'll put him there. Okay, so next then is Frank Underwood from House of Cards, Kevin Spacey. I think I'm going to have to put him in memorable. I really am, because I think House of Cards is a really big show, or at least it was, right, when it was running until, the later seasons and the drama with Kevin Spacey beyond the House of Cards that took him out of the final season. And I think I've watched like maybe the first season of the show, so I have seen the show, but definitely not the whole way through. And there's just so many moments, or at least that I've seen, that are really popular, clips and stuff like that of Frank Underwood from House of Cards, kind of breaking that fourth wall is a huge element of that show, and for him to talk to the audience, that kind of thing. So maybe this is a little bit recency bias with just House of Cards being so big, especially with the time that I've been really interested in TV and really invested in it. So perhaps, maybe that is the case, but I think, when we get more characters up there, I think he'll be, towards the bottom of memorable, but I think you got to put him in memorable. And especially Kevin Spacey being such a big actor, doing House of Cards, being that big name, I think he really deserves to be there. So we'll stick him there. And also Robin Wright probably could have been in this list as well, but I just don't, with Kevin Spacey being the lead for 5 seasons, I thought that was enough for House of Cards there. Okay. So then next is Hannibal Lecter, played by Mads Mikkelsen from Hannibal, the TV show. And this is what I talked about with Dexter. This is a tough one. Obviously, I would not put him in iconic. I'm not sure that I would put him in memorable. Maybe, I guess. I don't hear a lot of stuff about Hannibal anymore, unfortunately. I have heard the show was very good. I've not seen it, but Mads Mikkelsen is a really kind of recognizable face as well. So there's a lot of, it really stands out. When you see Mads Mikkelsen, you think of Hannibal, if you've seen the show or you've even just like heard of the show in general. And the other thing is that he is playing Hannibal Lecter, very popular character, especially Anthony Hopkins, playing him, in a movie space, and then him playing Hannibal. So yeah, I'm going to have to put him in memorable, I think, just because he's playing that big character. The Hannibal, the show, was pretty big at the time, even though I don't hear, as much buzz about it now. But I put him over Kevin Spacey. And he's playing playing a serial killer, playing that kind of villain role as well in the TV show. So, I think I'm gonna have to put him memorable. I'm not sure if I put him over Kevin Spacey and Frank Underwood. That's tough. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I would. We'll put him over it for now. Next is Gregory House from the show House, or House MD, played by Hugh Laurie. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know a lot about this show. I've never seen the show. I obviously know Hugh Laurie, and I've really liked him in some things recently. He's actually been and showed up in a lot of different shows, like maybe 3 in the last year or year and a half that I've seen. And obviously, I know, he's had a big career, obviously, in the last couple of decades before that. But, yeah, so I don't know a lot about this show. I know it has kind of a niche audience. People who have seen it, I think, really like it. But I don't know. He just doesn't really stand out to me in terms of the popular kind of culture. I just don't really see a lot about him. He is playing the titular character in the show, so I think that kind of gets him something. I'm sure he's very good in it. I really like Hugh Laurie as an actor. So I don't know. I'm between forgettable and serviceable here. I don't know. I'm having a hard time putting any of these characters in forgettable just because they're all like really good lead characters. So yeah, I don't. We'll put them maybe at the bottom of serviceable. I'll be fair. But if we're at the end and we don't have anybody in forgettable, maybe I'll put him down just to fill a quota, right? Just to put him down there. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think unfortunately, and if you're a fan of House, I'm sorry, but this is based off what I've heard, and I think objectively you can agree though that not a lot of people talk about House. But again, he's playing that titular character, so we'll give it to him. We'll put him in serviceable there. Okay, Kiefer Sutherland's character in 24. I have not seen 24, but I know that this is a really popular show, especially when it was on a really, really high-profile show. And Kiefer Sutherland, I think this was probably his biggest thing that he's known for. This really kind of, broke him out, if you will, as an actor, and he's continued to be a really formidable kind of force in Hollywood, being a big actor there, so big name. So yeah, I think you got to put him in memorable for sure. Kiefer Sutherland, and again, maybe the recency bias of Frank Underwood's a little more, maybe Hannibal a little more. So I'm gonna put him at the bottom of memorable, I think. But I think, for what 24 did for TV and how big it was, and to have him be the lead playing Jack Bauer, and even that character I think is kind of big in kind of the pop culture, the kind of popular, view of TV and the show. So I think we got to put him there. You know what? I got to put him over Frank Underwood for sure. In terms of Hannibal, I think Mads Mikkelsen maybe sticks out a little more. But you know what? I think I just got to put him here. I really do, because I think she's maybe, Sarah Jessica Parker's character, Sex and the City, maybe a little bit bigger than him. But that's a really memorable character from 24, for sure. So we'll put him there. And memorable. Okay, next we have Jax Teller, played by Charlie Hunnam in Sons of Anarchy. This is a tough one, because I think he really does stick out. I think he does. Definitely wouldn't put him in iconic. For sure not. Memorable, maybe towards the bottom of memorable. I'm not sure. Maybe impactful, although there's nothing really unique about him that makes it kind of impactful to TV, to the golden age of TV, and makes him stick out. He's a recognizable face. Sons of Anarchy was a huge show, especially at the time, but still even today. With it being over, he makes his rounds at conventions too, and does really well there. Really well known. Jax Teller. But I think, again, Sons of Anarchy, you think of that ensemble, you think of some of those other actors in the show that are really great too. So I'm going to put him towards the top of serviceable. Let's put him even maybe above Elliot from Mr. Robot, Rami Malek. Let's put him at the top of serviceable. I just don't know that he's memorable enough for there, but we'll put him at the top of serviceable. Maybe even Elliot, in front of him actually. But anyways, it doesn't matter too much. But at the end, we'll see where we're at as well. Okay. So next is Saul Goodman or Jimmy McGill from Better Call Saul, and I was actually kind of debating here, but I think you got to put him in iconic, right? Even just seeing some of the pop culture stuff from people who have probably not seen all of Better Call Saul, some of the memes and just how popular he is. And he has a bit of a leg up here from a lot of other characters on this list, is that he was also featured in the other, biggest show ever, or one of the biggest shows ever, for 3 seasons, right? So that character itself is just, Saul Goodman. I mean, it's a huge, huge character. Obviously, the Jimmy McGill side of it was really brought out with Better Call Saul in a big way. And obviously, Better Call Saul, I think for a lot of people, would be in the top 10. I think that's fair to say, right? In TV shows of all time. Some people literally rank it higher than Breaking Bad. And Breaking Bad's in everybody's top 5. So, yeah, I think he's iconic at this point. I think you got to put him in there at the top. Okay, next then is another recent one, but I thought for sure you have to have him in here because Yellowstone is such a big show. I mean, literally one of the biggest shows of the last 5 years on TV for sure. So this is John Dutton, played by Kevin Costner from Yellowstone. This is, again, when you think of Yellowstone, I think it's more, you think of some of those other characters. Luke Grimes really is a big name that came from Yellowstone as well. But he is the patriarch of the family. I think that's a big point here. That's important. He is the patriarch. He really stands out. And Kevin Costner is a great actor too, obviously. Really great, high-profile name. But I'm not sure that I put him in memorable. I'm not sure that he has that kind of, again, when you think of Yellowstone, I feel like there's other kind of clips and other actors and characters that are maybe more prominent than him from the show. So I'm going to put him in serviceable. I think I may put him, again, it's more of that kind of family drama, right? And he is the patriarch, yes, but I'm just not sure. So I'm going to put him, I think, below Carmy from The Bear. I think that's what I'm going to do for now. I think Carmy does kind of stand out as kind of a singular lead a little bit more than John Dutton, but he certainly stands out a little bit more than the Billions guys, I think. I think Kevin Costner brings a little more to that role. Okay, so next is Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. This is a tough one. Again, yeah, you could probably put these characters in iconic just because of how big Game of Thrones is. However, I don't know. I don't know that you can really put the characters themselves in iconic, especially considering the ensemble nature of Game of Thrones, right? I already talked about Daenerys. And I would put Jon Snow over Daenerys. I think I would. I think, just in the nature of Game of Thrones, I think he probably has more screen time, though it's probably close. But, yeah, I mean, it's like a 1A, 1B situation probably, when you talk about Game of Thrones lead characters. So yeah, I'm going to put him at the top of memorable for now. I think he's a very memorable character. Obviously, I think Kit Harington does a great job, but I don't really see them as iconic characters in the same way that I see Don Draper, Saul Goodman, and some of the other names that you'll see coming up. So that's just me. Unfortunately, that's where I would put Jon and Daenerys at the top of memorable there. Okay, so next is Jed Bartlett, I believe is the name, played by Martin Sheen from The West Wing. I thought I'd throw him in here again. I know that there's kind of an ensemble cast in that show with a lot of big actors. Bradley Whitford was in that one. He, really made a name for himself. And I think Duo Hill as well was in West Wing, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, so some big actors over the years that have found success over the years since West Wing that were in the show. But I thought he really stuck out as the president, obviously playing in West Wing. So I'm gonna have to go. I think I'm gonna have to go memorable here. West Wing was a massive show at the time it was on. A lot of people talked about it, and him being the top, him being the president in the show, I think really stands out. So I think two of the presidents are going to be right next to each other here, and I'm not sure who to put over. I guess I would put West. I mean, West Wing's probably a bigger show than House of Cards. Remove the recency bias. It definitely is, all time, especially when it was on in terms of West Wing. So I would maybe still put, you know what? I think I got to put him over Hannibal and Al as well from Deadwood. I think you do. I think maybe Kiefer Sutherland is a little bit better, but I think maybe right there for Jed Bartlett there from West Wing, the president. Okay, so next is June from The Handmaid's Tale, played by Elizabeth Moss. This is a tough one for me because I think Handmaid's Tale, especially in the early seasons, was a massive show. Definitely a part of kind of this recent golden age, if you will, if you want to refer to it as, if you don't think the last few years were part of the golden age, whatever, but a huge show in the context of that. I think season one, I've not seen the show, but I think a lot of people would say that season one is among kind of the best seasons of television that we've got in the last decade, probably. And she's obviously the main character in it, the lead. I think, again, in terms of pop culture, very popular kind of character. Just that look, right? Like this picture of her in the red with the white veil. Like, that's just very popular right now. Like, a lot of people never seen Handmaid's Tale, not even pay attention much to TV stuff, would definitely know what that is and recognize her right away. So I think I got to go memorable for her. I think Elizabeth Moss is a great actress as well. She's been nominated for multiple Emmys for her performance. I think almost like every season of the show she's been nominated. So I'm gonna have to go memorable. I would put her above impactful, personally. I think you got to put her over impactful because those two in impactful, like she is way more in terms of the the pop culture there than them two. But I'd maybe put her at the bottom, maybe above House of Cards there. I think Hannibal maybe would be a little bit more well known. And again, this could be recency bias too. I mean, at least to me, since I've been really paying attention to TV, Handmaid's Tale has been among the biggest shows. Now, it did kind of fade in the later seasons, and a lot of people were very critical, I think, of the later seasons. I'm not sure. Obviously, I think she probably still gives a good performance, but I think that is part of it too, in terms of Handmaid's Tale. So, you know what? Maybe I'll stick her below there. Okay, we'll put her at the bottom. All right, next is Raylan Givens from Justified, and this is going to break my heart because I'm a huge Justified fan. Probably, maybe a top 5 TV show for me all time. Absolutely love the show. And I'd really like to put him in iconic. I really would. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can put him in iconic. I don't think Justified is a big enough show for that. I don't even know about memorable. Justified, it is kind of big among those who know it. Timothy Olyphant's obviously a big name. Again, I literally could have had him in for Deadwood as well. He could have been in here twice. So maybe just for that alone, I could put him in memorable. I think that's enough. So yeah, you know what? Raylan Givens, the lead of Justified, although they have some really great side characters, and Walton Goggins' Boyd Crowder in Justified is one of the best supporting characters I've ever seen on TV. So he brings a lot to it, but Raylan Givens is Justified. Like, he is the lead of that show, and really the main focus of it. Again, I think Oliphant does such a good job. So we got to put him in memorable. But again, in terms of objective, kind of the popularity, and just people recognizing that, I feel like not a lot of people would recognize it. So I'm going to put him at the bottom of memorable for now. I think he's above serviceable, though. I think Raylan Givens kind of stands out, being that character from Elmore Leonard as well, the adaptation of the character. So yeah, perhaps we'll put him in memorable. I think this is maybe just a little bit of bias as well. To be fair, full disclosure, huge Justified fan, so that's what it is. We'll put him in memorable there. Okay, these two are very recent ones, and I'm glad they're actually together here. From Succession, obviously. So we got Kendall Roy and Logan Roy from Succession. And this is going to be massive recency bias because, Succession has been like the biggest show on the air for the past 3 years, right? But only the last 3 or 4 years. Like, the show only ran for 4 seasons. It wrapped up last year. So this is very recent, obviously, for these characters. Having said that, I'm not sure. I think Logan Roy is for sure and memorable, right? Brian Cox is so great in that. Even people who haven't seen Succession recognize him, and, again, very viral clips, very popular moments from the show with Logan in it. And again, he's the patriarch, similar to John Dutton, like I said, with Yellowstone, a show about family. I know that's the patriarch or the matriarch of the family is obviously going to be a huge focal point. So I think we have to put him in memorable. I would put him probably definitely above Raylan Givens, just in terms of kind of where Succession is right now in the landscape. But maybe just of the recency, maybe I kind of hold back a little bit. Maybe I keep him there and keep June from Handmaid's Tale over Logan Roy for right now. Okay, Kendall then. That's a weird one to me because I'm not sure that he is in the same tier as Logan Roy. He is a memorable character, yes. He does have a lot of, great moments in the show, but I feel like he's almost a step down from Logan, and he's more on the level of, Kieran Culkin, right, as Roman and Shiv. He's kind of like with the kids. He's not necessarily the patriarch of that family. So this is a real tough one. Again, to me, I would say he's memorable, obviously, because I've seen the show. I absolutely love Succession, and I think Jeremy Strong is among the best actors here from this list, for sure. So this is a tough one for me, man. This is maybe the toughest one yet, between memorable and probably the top of serviceable for me, for Kendall. He just, yeah, I don't know. I just don't get the same feeling that I get from Logan. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to put him in serviceable, and I think I'm going to need to put him below Jax Teller, because I think that character from Sons of Anarchy kind of sticks out, and Mr. Robot is a little bit above him too. So this breaks my heart, it really does, but I think we're going to have to put Kendall in serviceable there. Again, I just don't know that he's on the same level as Logan Roy. Okay, Marty Bird from Ozark, played by Jason Bateman. Again, a very recent one here as well. We may have our first entry in the forgettable tier to me. I guess you could probably put him in serviceable, but I don't know. Ozark was big the first couple seasons. I watched the show until season 3. And I liked it. I really feel like it faded towards the end. Yeah, I got a lot of Emmy buzz, and I think Jason Bateman, no, he won for directing, but he was nominated for lead actor all, I think, 4 seasons. Critics really loved the show, but I really feel like it faded towards the end. And to me, Jason Bateman, that character never really changed throughout the entire series, or at least from what I've seen of the show. It was a very one-note character to me. I think Jason Bateman played him really well, but he was also just kind of doing the Jason Bateman performance that he's shown shades of in a lot of other shows and movies, I guess mainly movies. So to me, it just doesn't really stick out. Like, yeah, Ozark was big in the last few years, but I don't know. I guess he is the one you think about, though. When you think of Ozark, he is the lead. But in terms of that character, I'm not sure. I don't think he sticks out the same way. So I'm going to put him in forgettable. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Don't hate me, but I think we're going to put him in forgettable for now. Maybe we can move him up at the end here. So these next two I'm very torn on. It's Mulder and Scully from X-Files. David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson here. I know they're out of order, so maybe I'll just move her up, and we'll do both of them. We'll just do both of them at the same time, right? From the same show. And this is interesting to me. I'm kind of leaning towards iconic for them, just because to me I feel like they were also one of the first duos, or at least one of the biggest kind of popular duos at the time that X-Files was starting, of this kind of detective duo, right, or this kind of buddy cop kind of thing on TV. And maybe I'm off base with that. Maybe I am. But at least to me, in terms of how I view the golden age of TV, X-Files was probably right at the beginning of it. And to see these two characters, I mean, everybody knows Mulder and Scully. Everybody just knows those names, at least if you are in tune with TV. Even if you haven't seen the show. I've maybe seen a few episodes of the X-Files, throughout the years. Definitely not when it was airing, obviously. But I've seen some episodes, but I know Mulder and Scully. I even knew that before I watched a second of the show. They're just very memorable characters, even though I don't know that they were really the most nuanced or the most unique characters. It's just that they were part of the X-Files, and when it came out, again, kind of that buddy cop archetype, and they just played those characters really well, really well for what they were. So I think you have to put them above serviceable. And maybe in memorable, I think you got to put them in memorable, right? I think people see those faces, they know exactly who they are. Mulder and Scully, again, the names of them. So where should I put them? I'm thinking somewhere maybe around here, right? In this area, maybe above Al Swearingen from Deadwood. Hannibal, yeah, I think you got to put them right around here. It's kind of in the same time, right, of Kiefer Sutherland from 24. You get Martin Sheen from The West Wing. It's kind of in that same feel to me. So we'll put him there. Obviously, there's no preference over one over the other. They're just kind of 1A, 1B there together. So, whatever. You can put her above him above, it doesn't matter. They're kind of, two peas in the same pot, if you will. So yeah, we'll stick with memorable. I think that's a fair spot for him. Next, we have Neil Caffrey from White Collar, played by Matt Bomer. I'm a huge White Collar fan, one of my favorite shows of all time for sure. And I just think Matt Bomer brings so much to this character of Neil Caffrey. Just kind of the vibe, the style, just that charisma. he just brings so much flavor to that character, to that role, and I think he really does stand out. I'm just not sure that you could put him in memorable. I'm not sure that White Collar is like that big of a show. I would certainly put Suits over it, but he does stand out from White Collar. I think he's definitely a memorable character. He's not doing anything necessarily groundbreaking though, so I wouldn't put him in impactful. This is a tough one to me. I think you have to put him above Mike Ross from Suits. So maybe you put him in right here. Maybe below Kendall, right? Below Kendall Roy. And you maybe put Neil Caffrey right there in Serviceable. I'm not sure that he's on the same level as Raylan Givens. He's also in part of that kind of buddy cop kind of makeup there, with Peter Burke, the other side of that. So yeah, I'm not sure on that one. I think that's a good spot for him. You put Neil Caffrey there at Serviceable. Okay, so next is Nucky Thompson, played by Steve Buscemi from Boardwalk Empire. This one, I think you have to go memorable because Steve Buscemi is obviously a very recognizable face. A lot of his, throughout his career with movies. But I think that, this was a big show for him. I think Boardwalk Empire, again, maybe not as the most popular show, but I think for people who watched it, definitely critics really enjoyed the show. I think it's up there in terms of when you talk about prestige television, kind of that like critic angle. A lot of critics would put it at the top of their list. Or at least, the earlier seasons. I think towards the end it kind of faded, but it had a lot of great performances in there, some great actors, and I think Steve Buscemi kind of at the forefront of it in Boardwalk Empire. But again, it was more, an ensemble piece as well, right? He is definitely the lead, I think, but there's some other characters that you would think of when you think of Boardwalk Empire. So I'm not sure if you put him in memorable. I'm just not sure that he's on quite that level to me. Maybe you put him below Neil Caffrey here in Serviceable. I think Buscemi, is really great. Great actor, probably among the best here on this list. But I think you got to put him in Serviceable here. And when you put him above Mike Ross, maybe not even. Like I'm just not. When you think of Boardwalk Empire, I'm not even sure. That show is just not that big. So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe you put him below Mike Ross here, maybe you put Clark Griffin. I mean, even the 100 is a bigger show than that. Maybe it's bigger than Black Sails though. So maybe put him in here. Maybe put him in there. We'll leave him there in Serviceable for now. Okay. Nurse Jackie. So Jackie from Nurse Jackie, Edie Falco here. This was kind of her next thing after The Sopranos. And I haven't heard a lot of people actually talk about this show much. Except for like Sopranos fans and people who really like Edie Falco. Obviously, I have heard that she's amazing in the show, and I believe she was nominated for Emmys for multiple seasons. I want to say at least, I think it was multiple seasons for sure. So she's great, and among the actresses here, she would be at the top, right? She'd be like among the top 2 or 3 here on this list in terms of acting caliber, and what she did in The Sopranos was absolutely masterclass. And so, to have her here in Nurse Jackie. So she is playing the titular character, yes. But like I said, I don't hear a lot of people talk about Nurse Jackie that much, to be quite honest with you. She is a really great actor, though. But I just can't put her in memorable. I can't do it. Impactful, I don't think she's doing something necessarily, crazy. That had a huge impact, a lasting impact on TV. Unfortunately, I think I'm just going to have to put her in Serviceable, and I'm not sure where she fits. I mean, I would even maybe kind of put her below, towards the bottom of Serviceable, unfortunately. Just the way that I feel like Nurse Jackie is remembered right now today. So maybe I'd put her, it's tough with the kind of the recency bias, right, of The Bear and Yellowstone being in there, kind of big shows. Billions. I mean, she is a really great actress, so I think she deserves to be a little over them. Okay, let's put her above Flint there from Black Sails. But I feel like that is maybe anyway. She's playing the titular character. We'll give it to her. We'll put her there in Serviceable there for Edie Falco. All right, next is Olivia Dunham from Fringe, played by Anna Torv. again, unfortunately, Fringe is one of those shows that had a really big niche audience, a big audience, but it was a kind of a niche show, so it wasn't a huge popular show. But a lot of people, and when they think of Anna Torv, like they think of Fringe, and when they think of Fringe, you see Anna Torv, you see that character. Even this picture, I think, is, I mean, at least to me, and I've only seen the pilot. I reviewed the pilot here on the channel. Quite enjoyed it, actually. But I haven't even seen much of the show, and I recognize Olivia Dunham. I recognize Anna Torv from Fringe. But the show just isn't that big in terms of the landscape of Golden Age of TV. But, again, it's from J.J. Abrams, from Lost, and you kind of extend that from Lost to Fringe. It's kind of that same sci-fi, kind of, mind-bending, twisting types of show, right? The kind of mystery box shows, if you will, that J.J. Abrams had going there. So, I don't know. This is a tough one for me. I don't know that you can put her in memorable just because the show is not big enough. And in the pilot, I didn't think there was as much nuance to that character as maybe what I thought, but it was just a pilot as well, so I'm not sure. I think you got to put her in serviceable. I think you got to put her, I would put her above Nurse Jackie to me for sure. I'm not sure that you put her above Lucky Thompson from Boardwalk Empire. Maybe you put her above him as well. She is kind of like very clear lead of Fringe. Character maybe isn't. Maybe Steve Buscemi, give him the edge just because better actor in terms of that. So okay, we'll do that. We'll leave her there in serviceable. Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier. Kerry Washington playing Olivia Pope. This to me, again, maybe it's memorable. It's for sure impactful. And I would say maybe even towards the top of impactful there. But would it be in memorable? Scandal was a pretty big show. She is the very clear lead of Scandal, Olivia Pope. I feel like that's almost like kind of an iconic character, right? For a lot of people, seeing Olivia Pope, a really great character. I think Kerry Washington does a great job in the show. I have seen, I think all of Scandal, maybe the last season I checked out on, but almost the whole show I've seen. So this is a tough one. I think I'm going to leave her in impactful, though. And not put her in memorable just because I feel like Scandal isn't as big anymore. But maybe she should be. I don't know. The main reason I want to put her in impactful, by the way, is she is a black woman, and this did come before How to Get Away with Murder with Viola Davis there in the same tier. So to have her lead a show like that, Shonda Rhimes casting her as lead in Scandal, and Scandal being a big show on network TV for many years. So I think you have to put her in impactful for sure. And I think she deserves to be at the top of that tier there, and we'll leave her there for now. Okay, so then we have Glenn Close's character in Damages, and to be honest, I have not seen Damages, and I have not heard a lot about it. I've obviously heard about Glenn Close being very good in the show, but I've not heard a lot of people talk about Damages, so I don't know. I really don't think you can put her in memorable. Again, she's a really great actress. I believe she got nominated for multiple Emmys for the show as well. That's a tough one. I think you got to put her in serviceable, probably. Maybe below Nurse Jackie, just because she's not playing the titular character. But maybe you put her above Captain Flint from Black Sails, right? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't, though. I mean, she's not that big of a name. So yeah, you know what? Maybe I put her below. Maybe just her acting ability. Maybe put her there in terms of putting her over Carmy from The Bear. Next is Piper from Orange is the New Black, played by Taylor Schilling. And this, I'm between memorable and impactful, I think, for this one. I think it's definitely impactful because she is playing a female criminal, right? And I think that's, at least, in my thinking of my view of it, that's a pretty groundbreaking thing, right, for TV, for Netflix with Orange is the New Black, just Orange is the New Black in general, showing kind of the female perspective of jail, of prison and that experience. And for her to lead the show, be a very clear lead of Orange is the New Black, which was a big show. I feel like it kind of tapered off towards the end, but a big show when it first started. I watched a few episodes of the first season, I think when it was, coming out at the time, or maybe in like the first couple seasons. and I thought she was good. She was good in the show that parts of the show that I did watch. I don't think she's among the top actresses on this list. I think that's fair to say, but I think that is an impactful role. Just that she was playing kind of that groundbreaking of the female criminal, right, in a TV show, and being the lead of the TV show. So I think that's impactful. I'm just not sure if it's memorable. Again, when you think of Orange is the New Black, a lot of the kind of popular stuff about it is kind of some of the scenes, right, with the other women, and kind of the experience of jail or prison, I guess, right, of them kind of being in there and the interactions and that. So I'm not sure that she is kind of the main focal point of that. So maybe I would put her. I may put her at the bottom of impactful, but I think she is impactful in terms of just the role she was playing, the show that she was in, and kind of that impact that it had within TV for there. Okay, so next then is Frank Regan, played by Tom Selleck in Blue Bloods. Yeah, I think you gotta go iconic for this one. I think the bottom of iconic is a good spot for him. And maybe do I switch one of the? Anyways, we'll get to that at the end. But I think you gotta put him in iconic. I'm not sure that any other character here has been in the show as long as Frank Regan has. He has done almost 300 episodes. Let me say that again. 300 episodes of Blue Bloods, and been in these episodes. Like, not just Blue Bloods has ran for 300 episodes. He took a break for a few seasons, came back. Like, no, he's been in almost 300 episodes of the show. And I don't know, Tom Selleck, that's just synonymous with Blue Bloods. Even people who haven't seen Blue Bloods, maybe I've seen a couple episodes, it's just been on TV here and there, but I know right away that face. I mean, just that picture, right, of Tom Selleck with the mustache. I feel like that's just a really iconic, look that he has. And to be in that many episodes of Blue Bloods, which has been a massive show on network TV for, like, I think it's almost 20 years, right? Or something like that. Maybe not quite that. Maybe like 12 years or something. I'm not exactly sure. But it's been at least more than a decade that it's been on. It's been a big staple of network TV. I think you got to put him in iconic. Now, the only thing, though, is I'm not sure that he's quite on the same level as a Don Draper, a Dexter, and a Saul Goodman. That's the only thing that I kind of, I struggle with a little bit there. So you know what? Now that I think about that, seeing him up there with those three, it doesn't quite fit to me. So we're going to actually put him in memorable, but definitely towards the top of memorable. I'd put him above Kiefer Sutherland. I got to put him above probably, I'd probably put him right there. Let's put him right there for now. Again, I think he is iconic, but you know what? Now that I see him in that company, I think I'm going to put him down. Okay, so we'll put him in memorable for now. Towards the top of memorable. Next is Raymond Reddington from The Blacklist, played by James Spader. This is an interesting one. I feel like Blacklist, especially in the earlier seasons, was a big staple of network TV. I feel like it's maybe, overlasted, the kind of overstayed its welcome, if you will, on network TV. And I'm not sure if it's ended now or not. I have not watched the show. Though I do know James Spader is probably, in the kind of top echelon of actors in this list for sure. He's a great actor. And so, being the main character here for The Blacklist, I think is definitely meaningful. I'm not sure. I don't know. The Blacklist, again, it's a big show on network TV, but I'm not sure, kind of the pop culture element, the popularity of it. I'm not sure, especially in recent years, has kind of faded. He is kind of a big character in there, but I don't know. I would put him below some of these other ones here. Maybe I put him above Carmy with the bear. Again, just the kind of the recency of those two there. So yeah, and James Spader's a great actor. He's a great actor for sure, but yeah, I think maybe Glenn Close put her above him, or maybe around there. Maybe just put him above Glenn Close for now. We'll put him there in serviceable. Okay, Next then is Rue Bennett from Euphoria, played by Zendaya. Again, this is definitely one of the most recent ones, and she's only been in 2 seasons of the show, and then I guess the few episodes in between, right, the specials or whatever in between season 2 there. So she hasn't been in much of Euphoria, but I think it's, she's obviously the clear lead of Euphoria. Euphoria has been a huge show, especially in the pop culture space, younger generations, right? Really, viral clips and stuff like that with her in it. But I don't know if I could put her in memorable right now. And I'm not sure that she quite fits impactful. I guess Euphoria is kind of treading some interesting waters with kind of addiction, abuse, those kinds of themes in kind of the lens of a teenager, right, in that kind of teen thing, and speaking to a lot of modern problems right now. But I'm not sure that had really like a big impact on the golden age of TV and TV in general in the last few years. So yeah, I'm not sure that I put her in memorable or impactful. I think I got to go serviceable here, and I think I got to put her right around these guys. I think the recent ones, and Zendaya also is a very good actress as well, and she, I think, won, right, for Euphoria season 2, or maybe even both seasons she's won in the Emmys. So I think you got to put her above here. I think you got to put her above Carmy from The Bear. I think that's a good spot for her. Again, just kind of keep all those recent ones within the same kind of level there, similar level, but maybe put her there in serviceable. And again, it's only been 2 seasons. Like, you're going up against Glenn Close, who was in Damages for many years. James Spader's been in the Blacklist for many years. Nurse Jackie ran for, I think, 7 seasons. Like, a lot of these characters and actors were in this show for a long, long time. And so it's hard to put her above them. Okay, interesting one here. Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. Now, I don't think I'm going to put him in iconic, even though I would like to. Huge Walking Dead fan, of course. But no, I don't think I can put him in iconic. When you think of The Walking Dead, a lot of kind of the popular thing is the ensemble. There's just such great characters in The Walking Dead throughout the run, thanks to Robert Kirkman in the comics, mainly, right, for him writing those characters. But really great actors throughout. So, yeah, I don't think you can put him in iconic. I just don't think you can do that. But he is the clear lead of the show. We follow him. He's our protagonist from the very beginning of the show, from the pilot. Well, not quite towards the end as he departed the show. But I think, obviously, you got to put him in memorable, right? No lower than memorable. And I think, this is a tough one. I think you got to put him definitely over Raylan, over Logan Roy, just because how big Walking Dead was, and it started in 2010, so it's kind of preceding a lot of these. Handmaid's Tale, House of Cards for sure, Hannibal, Swearingen, Mulder and Scully, maybe they're a little bit bigger than Rick Grimes, right, in terms of the golden age of TV, so maybe I'll put him right there in memorable. That's maybe just a little low, but some of those names, I mean, how can you, I don't know, to me those names are just huge in terms of TV notoriety. Yes, Walking Dead is a huge show, but I just don't quite think of Rick Grimes in the same way as the way some of those kind of stand out in their respective shows. So that's maybe a little low, but we'll stick him there for now. Now we have Suki from True Blood, played by Anna Paquin. This is an interesting one. I have not seen True Blood. I'm not even really familiar with, obviously I know what True Blood is, and I've known how big it was at one time, but I'm just not familiar with it. I don't see a lot of like clips and a lot of stuff from it. I feel like when it was on, it was kind of a big pop culture show. Again, though, I'm not sure that she's definitely the clear lead. I think when I looked into it, she is the clear lead of the show, but I'm just not sure that she sticks out. I think a lot of people remember kind of the show and some of the other characters maybe more so than her. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if she would be. I don't think she would be in memorable. I don't think she's on that same level as Logan Roy, June from Handmaid's Tale. I just don't see that quite in True Blood. So I think we're going in serviceable for her. Maybe I put her above Clark Griffin in the 100. You know, True Blood was a bigger show, a really big show at one time. Neil Caffrey, yeah, you know, like, you know, maybe in this kind of area here, maybe Mike Ross from Suits is a little bigger. So we'll put her there. I guess we'll put her in there for serviceable. But even then, I don't know. Like, maybe that's a little high because she's not, you know, playing a titular character like Nurse Jackie is. Olivia Dunham from Fringe, right? I don't know. I mean, True Blood was really big at the time it was on. She was kind of a memorable face from that. So we'll stick her there. Next is Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders, played by Cillian Murphy, our newest Oscar winner for Best Lead Actor for Oppenheimer this past year. Really happy for him, and he's been a great actor for so many years. So Peaky Blinders, this is an interesting one for sure. I'm not sure that Peaky Blinders is a huge show, though I think it has really gained, you know, popularity, gained a lot of praise from critics and that stuff as well. Just, you know, in the last few years, in the last maybe, you know, 5 years or so, something like that, maybe a little further than that even now, since it's been on. Right, with Peaky Blinders. And so, yeah, does that character really stand out? I think he's the clear lead of the show for sure. When you think of Peaky Blinders, you think of Cillian Murphy. I haven't seen the show, but when someone says Peaky Blinders, like, I think of Cillian Murphy. And it just, this picture, like, that's such a perfect picture of, that's like exactly what I think of when I think of Peaky Blinders. But I just don't know that the show is that big. Though it has gotten, you know, gotten bigger in the past few years. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you put him like maybe up here? Is Peaky Blinders maybe a little bit more of an ensemble as well, right? You have some more characters that are also, you know, known pretty well. Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I'm not sure. I think he belongs here in serviceable. I wouldn't put him in memorable. Yeah, I think I'm going to put him, we'll put him kind of in this tier, I think, with these guys. Maybe above Neil Caffrey, maybe. Just because Peaky Blinders is kind of a bigger show. Cillian Murphy's kind of the face of that. Maybe he's a little bit above Neil Caffrey for White Collar. Peaky Blinders bigger show, so we'll stick him there. And maybe that's a little high, right, with some of these names, but I think Peaky Blinders is a pretty big show, so we'll stick him there in serviceable. Okay, next one. This is easy. I mean, I don't even know that we need to talk about this for very long. Tony Soprano, he would be at the top of this. I'm not sure if Dexter or Saul. Maybe I put Dexter at the bottom of that. We'll rearrange that. But yeah, I mean, the next one is probably going to be slightly over Tony Soprano. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, obviously, Tony Soprano, titular character, The Sopranos, one of, if not the biggest show of prestige television, of the golden age, really the show that kicked off the golden age to, you know, according to a lot of people, and James Gandolfini, to be honest as well, like, let's talk about this for a second. Is this the best performance that was ever seen on TV in terms of, like, from start to finish, just the best acting, the best performance seen in a TV show? I think I would argue yes. I think so. I think James Gandolfini is among, if not the best actor here on this list, and his performance in The Sopranos, literally from the pilot till the finale, is just incredible. So, easily iconic there. Okay, so next is Vic Mackey from The Shield, played by Michael Chiklis. This is an interesting one, and I think I'm going to put him in impactful. I'm not even quite sure. Maybe he'd be memorable. I don't know. The Shield is again, I would say more of kind of a niche show. I'm sure at the time it was pretty popular, but it was on FX. It was not a network show, so that's, you know, another thing that kind of hurt its popularity or hurt its viewership. In terms of kind of the mainstream audience there. But the big thing about Vic Mackey is he was the lead in a cop drama, but he was also a dirty cop, right? Like, that is the big thing, and I have seen The Shield, really enjoyed The Shield. I do have to watch the last few seasons of it, actually, but I've watched, I think, until up season 5, I want to say, or season 4, something like that. Really love the show. And the biggest thing is, yes, he's playing a dirty cop, in a cop drama, but he's the lead of the show. So for sure, that has got to be impactful at the very least. But you know what? I think maybe you even could move him up to memorable in terms of, I think he's very recognizable. When you think of The Shield, you think of him. Obviously, Walton Goggins is great in the supporting role, but I think you definitely think of him when you think of The Shield. He's a big character in it. So that is tough. That is really tough. You know what, though? There's not as many in impactful right now. I'm going to put him in impactful. I just feel like that character is really, really big. So maybe at the top of impactful, just because he maybe should be memorable, but I'm going to put him there. So I'll put him at the top of impactful. There's really big impact on TV. The Shield, just in general, being, again, a cop drama about dirty cops, just to subvert that genre, I think really, really big. Okay, we are now at probably the easiest one, maybe next to Tony Soprano. This is tough. This actually is tough. The tier he's going in is not tough at all. Easily iconic. Walter White from Breaking Bad, played by Bryan Cranston. This is maybe the toughest decision I have had yet to make in this video. This is so tough. In terms of if you are talking about just characters, though, I think you got to put Walter White over Tony Soprano. I think you do. Again, I take James Gandolfini's performance over Bryan Cranston 10 times out of 10. I just think he's a better actor, and I think his performance was better in The Sopranos. But Bryan Cranston was also incredible in Breaking Bad. I think Walter White's the best character ever put to TV screens. It's just, where they take him from the pilot to the finale, right, to the end, from Mr. Chips to Scarface, as Vince Gilligan puts it. Just effortless the whole way through. Just masterfully done from beginning to end. How they took that character from, chemistry teacher, really kind of bored with life, really looking to kind of have that spark, and then he gets diagnosed with lung cancer, right? And then to see where he goes to literally becoming a drug kingpin towards the end of the show. And it's when you say that out loud, you think, well, that's extreme. Like, that must be melodramatic and whatever. But it's not. Like, the whole show is just so well done, so well crafted, that it really feels earned the whole way through, even though it's such a big arc. So I don't know. Breaking Bad's my favorite show of all time. Objectively, I think it is the best show of all time. So, yeah, you got to put him at the top of iconic there for sure. And I love that tier. I think, I don't think anyone else is going in there. I think those 5 in iconic, I think that's a pretty great tier there. Okay. So next we have Will McAvoy from The Newsroom, played by Jeff Daniels. This show only ran for 3 seasons on HBO, though the one thing about this, and one of the main reasons I put him on this tier list, is because he has that one monologue he probably has multiple monologues, but the one specific monologue from this show, from The Newsroom, is huge. I mean, it's a huge viral video. A lot of people literally thought it was like a real anchor that said all the stuff that he says. It's the one about how, he's talking about how, America has kind of went downhill, or, kind of pointing out the issues with America, which if you watch the clip, I mean, it's like I think this was from 2013. Aaron Sorkin, the writer behind it, and still very true. A lot of the stuff he says still holds very true today. So a crazy, crazy monologue. Again, very viral, popular clip. But that's about the extent of it, I would say. Not a lot of people talk about The Newsroom. Nowadays, it was popular at the time, but not the most popular. Jeff Daniels is, you want to talk about best, I think he's among the best actors here on this list for sure. But yeah, I'm just not sure that he really goes into, some of these other, compares to some of these other characters, just in terms of what The Newsroom was. But like I said, he has those really viral, popular clips of him from those monologues. So I'm not sure. I maybe put him in forgettable if it wasn't for those clips and those moments that he has. So maybe we'll put him in serviceable. And I think Jeff Daniels is a great actor. So we'll put him in maybe below these ones, just because I don't know, just because the newsroom doesn't stick out to me as much. But you know what? Maybe just because they're kind of recent, you put him over it. I don't know. I think we'll put him right here for now. I think Harvey Specter in Suits though is even bigger. Claire Danes in Homeland's probably bigger. Bobby Axelrod, Chuck Rhodes. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll move him down there as well. Maybe put him there. Maybe put him there from the newsroom, and we'll put those guys there. All right, down to the last few here. So Sherlock Holmes from Sherlock, the series played by Benedict Cumberbatch, of course. This one has got to be memorable. I think, especially my age, when I think of Sherlock Holmes, I think of Benedict Cumberbatch. I think of this picture. So again, I know that Sherlock Holmes is obviously a long-running thing. We've had many different actors play Sherlock Holmes, but this series has also been very big. It's just got a lot of praise to be very good, or at least the early seasons. Early season, but I think you got to put him in memorable for sure. I think you have to. I think he's a really high-profile guy, and again, Benedict Cumberbatch. Look at what he's done now since Sherlock, and obviously he's playing the titular character, which I've used as a kind of an argument for a lot of ones here. So I'm gonna have to put him maybe I think below Rick Grimes. I would say. Because I just think that maybe, you know what, maybe even above Rick Grimes, to be honest. Playing Sherlock Holmes, I know obviously for British audiences, he would definitely be, he'd probably be an iconic. So yeah, I think that's a fair spot for him there in memorable, maybe a little low, but anyways. Okay, so the last two here, we'll just do them together. Is Kerry Russell's character from The Americans and Matthew Rhys's character from The Americans. These were the two that I've left off, so I actually had to add them at the end. They definitely should have been here in the first place. Now, The Americans did get a lot of buzz for the last season, the last few seasons, I would say, on FX. It was a big show towards the end of it. But during its run, it didn't really get a lot of buzz, I would say. Throughout the whole time. I think both these are really great actors, Kerry Russell and Matthew Rhys, really great. But I don't know that you really, obviously they are clear leads. They are the, main couple. They're co-leads of the show at the forefront of it. But I'm just not sure if you really remember them a lot. In terms of, again, if you watch the show, I have not, but if you watch the show, obviously you would remember them, you know them. But in terms of the pop culture, the objective kind of side of things, I'm not sure that a lot of people kind of recognize them in the same way as people on this memorable tier, and some of these tops of the serviceable tier either. So I don't know. I think I would put them probably above the Billions guys, maybe below even Jeff Daniels. I really do. I'm not sure. The Americans, again, not that big of a show. If it was bigger, maybe these, names would, or these characters would be bigger on this list, or maybe higher up. But yeah, unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to put them there. And again, this is a 1A, 1B situation. Doesn't matter really who's over the other here. So yeah, we're gonna have to put them towards the bottom of serviceable, unfortunately, in terms of that one there. All right, and there we have it. This is the completed tier list. It's a mammoth one, but really fun to put together. So this is it. This is the final tier list that we have. As we were going through, I kind of adjusted the orders and all that. So just real quick, iconic: Walter White, Tony Soprano, Don Draper, Saul Goodman, Jamie McGill, and Dexter. I think I'm really happy with that iconic tier. I think having the 5 of those guys in there, I think really deserving. Memorable, at the top of your Jon Snow, Daenerys, Sarah Jessica Parker's character, Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City, Frank Regan, Tom Selleck in Blue Bloods, Kiefer Sutherland 24, Jed Bartlett, right, Martin Sheen from The West Wing, Mulder and Scully from X-Files, Benedict Cumberbatch from Sherlock, Rick Grimes, Al Swearingen from Deadwood, Hannibal, of course, Frank Underwood, House of Cards, June in Handmaid's Tale, and you know what? Maybe just a last minute one. We'll switch those. Okay. Handmaid's Tale. Logan Roy, obviously Succession, Raylan Givens, Vic Mackey, Olivia Pope, Julian Margulies' character, I believe Alicia from The Good Wife, Annalise Keating from How to Get Away with Murder, Piper from Orange is the New Black. And then in terms of serviceable, the top we have Elliot Alderson from Mr. Robot, Jax Teller, Sons of Anarchy, Kendall Roy, Succession, Leah Thomas Shelby from Peaky Blinders, Neil Caffrey, White Collar, Mike Ross Suits, Suki from True Blood, Clark Griffin from The 100, Nucky Thompson, Boardwalk Empire, Olivia Dunham, Fringe, Nurse Jackie, Captain Flint, Black Sails. Then we have Reddington, or Red from The Blacklist, Glenn Close at Damages, Rue from Euphoria. So these are all kind of the recent ones, right? I kind of kept them together. So Carmi from The Bear, John Dutton from Yellowstone, Harvey Specter Suits. And then we have Claire Danes' character from Homeland, Jeff Daniels in The Newsroom, Kerry Russell and Matthew Reese from Americans. Then we got the Billions guys, Paul Giamatti and Damian Lewis. And we have Hugh Laurie in House. And alone in our forgettable tier, we have Marty Bird from Ozark, which I feel bad now in hindsight, but whatever. Anyways, so that'll just about do it for my tier list of the best lead actors here. All right, so that'll just about do it then for this one. I know it's really long, so hopefully, you can get something out of this one. I had a lot of fun doing this. I would definitely do, another tier list video. We'll try to make it shorter, obviously, for the next one. But anyways, this is just the first one, so, bear with me on this one for sure. But anyways, I'd like to thank you guys all so much for watching this one. Again, really like to do one in the future, so if you have any recommendations on what I could do, definitely I would look at doing a TV shows one as well for the next tier list. But yeah, looking forward to it and any recommendations you have. So anyways, once again, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this one, and we'll see you then in my next video.
I'm sitting down